So the question really is, and this actually gets asked quite a lot for both the Langendorf as well as the injection method. How do you confirm the moment of the best digestion of the heart, and how long does digestion generally take? Now, I'm obviously aware that we've covered this to some extent in Matt's and Ronglih's questions already, but I probably would say that, and a lot of this information is in the paper, which is shown at the bottom here, that's been published in 2016. But effectively, for young, healthy hearts from smaller animals, you can digest the heart using as little as 25 milliliters of collagenase solution, collagenase perfusion buffer. Whereas if you have larger, older, or fibrotic hearts, you may require beyond 50 mils. And in that case, you may want to recycle the buffer. But how do you spot the complete digestion? And as I said, I think this to some extent, some of these points apply to both the injection and the Langendorf method. The first thing that probably becomes noticeable is a reduction in resistance to the pressure. So you might, on a Langendorf, you might see an increased flow rate as a result if you're using the constant perfusion pressure. But quite often you see the loss of shape, loss of rigidity. You see the heart going paler, slightly fluffier appearance of the heart surface. If you're applying injection method, you might see that the holes are getting bigger where you're injecting. And also you might see that there is an ejection of myocytes into the effluent buffer, which could be sometimes visible to the naked eye, but if you're using a scope of some sort, you might be able to see them actually floating around. And I think you should note that the point of injection will often widen. So to some extent, I've already covered this. So much so that actually you will see significant amounts of buffer flowing directly backwards. But our advice here, and particularly I think Matt's advice here, is just to proceed with the injection until you think the shape and the rigidity of the heart and the paleness and fluffy appearance are fairly distinct. And in terms of when you should stop for different types of experiments, Ronglih's already covered this, and we've described this to some extent already in discussions, that overdigestion, so if you're overdigesting the heart, that may help in achieving higher yields. But the underdigestion of the heart tends to produce, in our hands at least, cells that are more amenable to patch clamping. So these are probably my responses to that question, and they're obviously to some extent lengthy, but these are the key things to look out for when you're looking for that time when you should consider that the heart is well digested and ready to be taken apart, triturated, and myocytes should be starting to fall off at that point. So Ronglih and Matt, would you have any further comments on this question?
We are repeating ourselves in pretty much all the key points on this. And I just want to add that people just have to get their hand wet and do it. And, with those tips, everybody provide based on our experience. But at the end of the day, people just have to feel it, right? When it's overdigest, when it's underdigest, I always encourage people, okay, if this is what protocols say, the time roughly, you go shorter, you go longer, and see what happened. Then you will figure out your own feeling of it. You have to establish your own, relationship with your heart isolation, cell isolation.
Yes.
I would just add that the loss of shape and rigidity and the loss of elasticity, when you're doing the injection method, that's one of the things you might notice, because of course after each syringe that you've injected, you will then take the syringe out and get the new one, and early on when you do that, you'll see that the heart will elastically go back to its original shape. But as the digestion is really progressing well, even when you take the syringe out, so there's no real pressure going in anymore, the heart still stays effectively the same shape, and it's kind of floppy, and that's when you know that the digestion is almost done, really.
Sure, I fully agree.